Well, my name is James Hawkins with Healing Conversations. And I can tell, there's a lot going on in society. There's a lot of pain, confusion, it's just so much. That's really what it comes down to, that it's a lot. And it's not just about when these moments come up about just this one isolated incident, but what it really comes down to is that it's this accumulation of pain, confusion, and anger. And many times in society, we don't really do a good job of really meeting people in pain and confusion and anger. And especially right now, with Healing Conversations, we deal with this around race. When the topic of race comes up, it does bring pain, confusion, anger, guilt, just so many emotions. And we really don't know what to do with those things. And when we don't know really how to handle those in healthy ways and really to make sense of our own experience, that's where there's just built up pressure, and it just comes out in ways that just lands on one another nasty. But even if it's not about really sharing it, sometimes we need to make sense of our own experience within us. And so that's really where I want to join you at with this video. It's about how can we take moments to organize our own experience, our own inner world, those emotions and things that we're feeling. And so I'm just going to go through something that I go through with clients and that I think is so beneficial, for one, just to help me say, you know what, let me get really a good handle on what is it I'm even feeling, what is it I'm going through. And then also, you might not use it for this right now because you might just need to take time to make sense of your own world, to get just to kind of get a grip for yourself. But it's also a great way to listen, to really understand what's happening in other people and make sense of it, so that if it's a friend or a family member or church member, co-worker, whatever, that you can be there with them in their time of need. Because we need to not only make sense of our world, we can't do that all by ourselves either. That's why we need the connection with other people to be able to help kind of put the pieces together and have that in community and fellowship. So here we go. It's an acronym that I got from one of my friends and mentors, and he calls it temp. It really comes from a woman named Magda Arnold, and it's about emotional assembly. And what temp is just a way of finding all those different elements of our experience and then organize it, bring it into a coherent whole, so our story makes sense to us. Like Brene Brown, their story we tell ourselves, and we need to make sense of those stories that are going on inside of our bodies and the world around us. So temp, I'll just say them off, then we'll talk about each one. The first one is T is trigger. The E is emotion, or a body response is what we're going for. And then the M is the meaning or message. And then P is protection, or the action tendency we take. And so let's talk about first the trigger. And the trigger is any type of stimulus. It could be something that happens on the outside, or something that even can come up on the inside, a memory or something, or some sensation you have in your body that takes you back somewhere, or to something or an event. But the point of a trigger is it's like a stimulus that kind of gets the energy going, that gets the moment flowing, that gets our body and our soul just activated and going. That's the trigger. And we need to know about those things that are triggering. There's so much going on in the world. And, for me, an example of a trigger right now, my biggest trigger, and I know, whether it's a news article or something on social media that is dismissive of pain, that makes mockery of pain, or that is going on in the world. And like I said, it's not just about a one-time event, it's an accumulation of it. So even when we see these things going on, whether it's the police, the police shootings, and it's this sense of, it's something that is rooted in a historical relational context that says, I just don't know if I can trust. It's just not safe. Do you understand what's going on for people of color in America? And then, so that's, different triggers. Your trigger could be something around the effect of, definitely if you watch the videos, I can't, I did see the video of Jacob Blake's mother. Those are triggers for me. Or, when I see another person in pain, that triggers and gets my body going. There's just different triggers that are going on in the world. When I see people on social media just going at each other, that triggers me and brings up energy in my body. And that energy is felt in the form of emotion or body senses. So when I see that dismissive post that just dismisses pain or makes fun of other people's pain or just minimizes or belittles it, then what I feel is this hotness. Part of it is like a hot feeling in my chest comes up, but then also there's this other part where that stays there for a moment, and I feel some like despair. It's just like we're never gonna be able to move forward because we can't even be with each other in these moments, in this pain. So it's just like a despair also comes up. A quick hurt and pain, rage kind of comes up, but then it goes into despair for me. But then it just doesn't stay there in the emotion. It's not just what I feel, but then it's like all of us, our minds go into trying to make meaning of the moment. We try and pick up the messages that are going on in these moments. And so we begin to tell ourselves stories to make sense of the things we're seeing and that we're experiencing in ourselves. We try and put it into a narrative or a story to make sense out of it. Because if we can't do that, then it's just really overwhelming. Like this one term that's really been sticking with me lately is that ambiguity is scary. Ambiguity is scary. That the unknown, it's like we try and put it into a meaning and make sense of it. And we're all making sense of it. And that's part of where ethnicity and our different geographical and cultural locations in the world have this impact. They affect the stories and how we experience the world and our life is lived out, and they make meaning. So I have the trigger, I have the emotion, I have meaning. But then if it's the world doesn't feel safe, like what's going on in me, it doesn't feel safe, like no one hears me, or I feel like I'm under attack in some way, then what that's going to make me want to do, my action is more than likely going to lead to some form of protection. I've got to guard my heart. I've got to look out for me. You're not going to see me or understand me, or you're trying to just overrun me. And this could go for anybody of any ethnicity right now. I mean, this whole thing, it makes us go into protective moves. So that could be where I just shut down. That's just where I could go on this all-out attack of I'm going to use my anger to back you up off me, or use my anger and that energy to come in and say, no, that's not true. I've got to make sure that you understand what this really is, what I'm feeling and how I'm seeing it. And that energy is just going to move me, and that's okay. But the problem is when we get stuck in a place of just fearful self-protection, we cannot have intimate connection. Once again, when we get stuck in places of just fearful self-protection, I'm only looking out for me, myself, and I in my way, or people who think like me or look like me, and that's all that matters to me. We cannot have intimate connection with fellow coworkers, neighbors, community, and we really cannot heal. So as long as we just divide into our groups and only want to just go into this place of fearful protection, we cannot really have any form of healing connection. And so I know I ran through that real quick, but I just want to kind of give an example once again, just to put it all together, because this is the part when we're able to organize it, even say it back to ourselves. We could journal this thing out when you just keep feeling yourself stuck and can't make sense of the world. Or when you're with a friend and you can listen this way and you take in these different pieces and then you're able to reflect it back. But it would sound something like this. When I went on social media and I see people that are supposed to be, friends, church members, community members, when I see these posts that just dismiss the historical pain that I've learned, that I've heard from my own family members and friends, and that I have experienced even myself, it just at first, for a quick moment, when I see those posts, it then makes me feel a sense of discouragement. At first I feel anger, but then it's just discouragement. And it's just like at first it's like this heat in my chest, but then it just like, I just drop and I just feel myself like, ugh. It's just like, this what I begin to tell myself. The message I get in that place is, I'm not really sure they even want to get it. I don't know if they really want to understand. It's like they have this particular experience, and I get it that might be the only life they know, and that's how they see the world. But it's like this refusal. I refuse to even try to see what you're going through, or what that feels like for you, or even what I might believe this, to acknowledge that I might see this, but what you also might be experiencing could also possibly be true. And I want to understand that, right? And then with those messages, what I tend to do once again is I've given up even trying to speak. So I just I push away, I isolate, because I'm just overwhelmed. And it feels like if I engage one more time, I'm just going to experience like rejection or even more disappointment. So I just give up. I just give up because it's just not going to work. And so, those are the ways we protect ourselves. But I want to take it one more step, because we can't just live in self protection. I also want us to be able to find out and think in these moments, what is it that you long for? What I'm longing for. And if I'm even talking about what I long for, what I really long for is when I see those posts, is I long for them to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, this is, I stand with the police. I love this country. And the way I've experienced the world is look like this. It just looks like there's times it seems like everything is okay to me. We're not where we used to be. But wait a minute, James, you're my friend. You're my neighbor. You're my brother. You're my whatever, and I just wanna hear, help me understand, or um but you know what? It's to say, or maybe to say, you know what? But that's my understanding. And it's not the same for everybody in this world. While things are better, it's not the same. I just long to be able to have those kinds of conversations with people where we can just come together and sit down and like talk and learn and pray, or encourage one another, or work together, or just share in the community. Um, that's what I long for. That's what I long for, at least. And for that's part of what I long for. But I believe that as we form those across different lines and in so many ways and different facets, what I do hope is that mobilizes people to say, as a community, we're going to make sure that everyone is treated equal. We're going to make sure that there is truly justice for all people, and that we will not sit silently by when we see any kind of pain coming to anyone, that is unjust, that does not respect that they are people of value and worth, right? And because there are times when I get into my self-protective mode, and I at first, sometimes in the energy and anger, I might just flip off and I might just say something real quick, or type something on social media, or I go get some contrasting article or fact. But then I got to stop and think, what does it feel like to be on the receiving end of my protective moves? Can you think about that? Think about the things you've been saying and how you come across and how you engage with the last person that maybe you talked to about race. And when you got into that place where you were really in your own defense mode, it was really more about defense than it was about hearing or relationship. What do you think it felt like for that person or those people to be on the receiving end of whatever message it was you posted? And I'm not saying that to shame. I have to do that sometimes. Or how would you want to, if you were in someone in the other person's shoes, could you take a moment and think about what that would mean or what that would look like? How would you want someone to show up for you? So, that's just my take. And once again, this temp part is just about really taking time to put together your experience so you can make sense of it for yourself, and hopefully be able to share that with other people and to connect with other people as well. Thank you so much.